welcome back.
Thank you so much. Today we're going to be talking about Black Christmas, 1974. I'm Parker.
Yes, and I'm Meg.
I run a YouTube channel where I do video essays about the portrayal of women on screen. And this is the movie we're talking about today. I guess I'll do a synopsis. You watched it. But for the people at home that might not have seen it, I'll try to do it so I don't give that many spoilers away. So Black Christmas is a 1974 slasher film. Sort of considered the first final girl movie. I'll get into that a little bit later. But it centers around this group of sorority girls. They're getting ready for Christmas break. And unbeknownst to them, a stalker is living inside their sorority house. And he ends up killing them off one by one. It is honestly it's 50 years old. It's still kind of as spooky. I don't know, when you watched it, if you were it kind of gives you the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah, I was nervous also because it rained tonight. It was there are Christmas lights all around my apartment that I could see from my windows. So it was giving the same energy that the movie had. So I was I am scared.
Yeah, no, totally. And I'm if you like horror movies, but also it's Christmas time, this is actually Christmas is sort of central to the plot. It's not just an afterthought.
Yeah.
And, it starts off and there's this still shot of the outside of a sorority house. And then you're it's kind of almost too long. At the beginning, you're watching the outside of the house and you're we're just looking at the outside of a house. And then it switches to this POV style. So you become aware that okay, someone's we're watching the house, but someone else is also watching the house, yes. Which is kind of what makes it extra creepy because you almost become the stalker. In a sense. I
noticed immediately, I was oh my god, this POV is giving me a little bit of whiplash.
Yeah.
But also it kind of reminded me of, oh my god, Halloween, when it's yes. You see through his mask or whatever. That was...
No, totally. And you become the killer.
Yes. Ooh. Yeah. That was the feeling. I was okay, so this is definitely the bad guy, immediately.
No, yeah. And then when he scales the trellis, to get up to the attic, you're oh no. And it's funny because... throughout this whole movie, you're just to the police, you're look in the attic.
Oh
look in the attic. Why does no one look in the attic?
It was so frustrating. I was oh my god, they're not looking. I'm they have a missing girl and they're not checking every room of the house.
Yeah. They're not oh, there's a ladder that goes up to the attic. Maybe we should check that.
But there's something kind of endearing about watching movies from the 70s, I think, or the 60s, where you're oh, and they just walk into a room with a gun, fully loaded
yeah.
and just, casually waltzing.
Yep.
It's
and
kind of cute.
They didn't have, the technology we have today, so tracing the... Oh, that's something I didn't mention, that... it starts off and these girls in the sorority house are getting these obscene phone calls, and some of them think it's funny, but a lot of them think it's really creepy. And the caller is sort of switching his voice, and he's making guttural pig noises, and it's just really uncomfortable, but definitely sexual in nature. And it's just super uncomfortable to listen to, honestly.
Yeah.
And from that point forward, the calls continue, but like you were saying earlier, it's the call's coming from inside the house. Oh my god!
Well, that was so interesting. There's one scene in the movie where they're trying to trace the phone call, and I didn't realize how that process went in that time period, because there's literally a man running through shelves or corridors of telephone wires.
Yeah, pretty much.
And he's trying to get to it quickly enough to trace where the call is coming from, because that the main character, I guess she is the main character of the movie, is getting these calls, and they're trying to trace them to figure out okay, who is this?
Right.
And literally this guy was they're not paying this man enough. He is hustling now.
Did you like it? What were your initial thoughts?
Yes, especially because I was just talking to a friend about this because they were watching it too. And I was oh, I feel cozy. I was it's so spooky because the vibes of the movie feel the vibes outside right now, right. Just because it is Christmas time.
The lights, yeah.
And I feel almost more cozy with spooky than I do with Christmas.
Yeah. And so, it's the perfect movie for horror lovers, obviously.
Yeah.
At this time of year, because it's you want to watch something that has the Christmas spirit, but no, it is still spooky.
Yeah, well, it just made me nervous too, because I was I live in a house of women, but I have, you know what I mean? So it's just that weird feeling of being okay, but we're fine, right, guys? And then you're okay, we.
So the main character in Black Christmas is Jess Bradford, who's considered to be the first final girl, though there's debate that Sally from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is actually the first final girl, but they're kind of both right? They came out the same year.
Will you break down Final Girl?
Of course!
Yes. I'm like, I don't know if I even...
Okay, so Final Girl is a term coined by Carol J. Clover in her book, Men, Women, and Chainsaws. This book came out in the 90s, and she described the final girl, of course, as the heroine of the movie, the girl who survives the killer's attempts. The way that she characterizes a final girl is that they're usually virginal, they're like goody two-shoes, book smart. Of course, though, this movie, Black Christmas, which predates Carol J. Clover's book, the final girl doesn't fit into the tropes. As we know, she's not a virgin because she tells her boyfriend, I'm pregnant and I'm getting an abortion, which is crazy.
I was like, what is happening?
Especially crazy considering the time the movie came out.
Yeah, that's also what I thought. I was like, okay, like she was like, I don't want to have this baby and I'm not.
Yeah, and he was like, please. And she was like, I shouldn't have even told you I'm not having this baby.
Yeah, that was brutal to watch. I was like, what?
Yeah, but a very progressive theme for the time, of course, because we know that when did Roe v. Wade come into play? Like, I think it was like a year prior, don't quote me on that, but it was like, this was a very new sort of dialogue that was forming about like abortion, and like to hear a character on screen openly say I'm having an abortion, it's like, that was a big deal for the time. But also, all that to say, she doesn't fit into this final girl trope, which you've seen Halloween, right? With Laurie, with Jamie Lee Curtis. Laurie is the quintessential final girl. She's a virgin. She's book smart. And those characteristics help her to like outsmart the killer. But the problem with that is it comes like, since virginity is so central to her surviving, it kind of places a lot of emphasis on a woman's purity, which like isn't the most progressive thing ever. Which is what Carol J. Clover says in her book. Like, it's, you know, it's kind of sets feminism back essentially, and it's like anti-feminist. But in the case of Black Christmas, Jess Bradford is a very powerful character who has agency over her body and is expressing agency over her body, and she doesn't fit into this stereotype of the woman that survives the killer.
I found that really interesting. Even the other women that were portrayed in the like, she has this, what is that one, she has kind of an attitude,
Barb.
Yes, Barb.
Did you see her choker? It says yes.
I've
been looking for a choker like that. I think I could probably make it, but yeah, Barb, which is another character in the film, she's very vulgar. Like, she's
outspoken.
Very outspoken. She thinks like, she kind of talks back to the person on the other line who's making like these sexual threats, like, I'm gonna kill you. And she kind of thinks it's funny. Whereas the first girl who dies, Claire, is we don't know if she's a virgin, but she's very like pure. She has a boyfriend, but she's like very innocent. She kind of is perturbed by these calls and just kind of off put by them, which is, you know, I would be too, but it's interesting that she's the one that dies first.
Yeah, it was interesting because she called her something. I wrote it down. Oh, she called her a professional virgin.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Okay, so she is a virgin. Yeah.
I was like, okay, shame. But it was, there's like one scene of it too where, I mean, we've already outed that she died, but like, the way that he kills her is with like, like a plastic bag. He like suffocates her. But she looks like, what is it? Because they show her at the end of the movie, too. Like, you can see her. Yeah. And she looks like one of those my mom has these caroling dolls. Oh, yeah. Do you know what I'm talking about? And, like, her mouth is open. I was like, this is so brutal.
Yeah, and when the kids carol, it, like, really has, like, it's very, like, kind of, I don't know, like, twist the idea of Christmas and, like, this, like, jolly time. Like, it, like, really makes you think. But yeah, what's interesting is you've seen Psycho, the Hitchcock movie. So that movie is considered to be the first slasher movie. And I thought that the scene where Claire dies with the kind of choking of her with the clear bag was sort of reminiscent of in the shower scene in Psycho, just because in both of those scenes you have this sort of clear film that's sort of the shower curtain and then the clothes bag that sort of distorts the killer, and like kind of like in the case of Psycho, you're like, is this a woman that is stabbing Marion Crane in the shower? And then in the case of Black Christmas, Claire doesn't know who's in her closet. It's distorting the image of the figure. And there's a lot of similarities between those two movies, just in terms of like voyeurism, which is like, I could talk forever about this. But like movies are kind of inherently voyeuristic. Like we're sitting in the dark watching someone who doesn't know we're watching them.
Okay.
Like
I did not think of it when you were like, we're gonna talk about voyeurism. I was like, okay, so
yeah.
And then I looked up and I was like, so being like a peeping Tom, is that like essentially what? Am I off base? I was
like voyeurism like can be a peeping Tom, of course, but it really is like. Usually it's deriving like some sort of sexual pleasure from watching someone who doesn't know you're watching them. Not saying that every time you watch a movie you're you're like literally engaging in that, but it just is interesting to when there is someone on screen who is engaging in voyeuristic behavior, it's kind of like we as the audience members sort of are like relating. Yeah, like we're almost like in the case of Black Christmas with the POV shots, we're the killer essentially because we are in the movie at that point. It's almost like VR headset kind of thing in that movie.
Oh my God, yeah,
because you see his hands, but you never see who this figure is.
Yeah, even at that till the end, you still
don't know.
Yeah, you don't know.
It's like up in the air about who it is to this day. Honestly, they've done remakes, but they get really bad reviews. So I've never seen them.
Yeah, I was gonna say I saw there were 2 remakes, and one of them was like 2006.
14% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Well, also,
I'm like, girl, I'm not watching that.
Yeah. Also, like I feel like that was a time period where like. I was very young, like I was like 10.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's like, for some reason, they were just remaking all of like the classic.
And it's like, maybe we didn't need to remake that.
Yeah.
I think what they wanted to do was kind of flush out this idea of Billy as this disturbed kid. Similar to Norman Bates in Psycho, it's someone with mommy issues. And a man with mommy issues in Black Christmas, this is like speculation, but the director Bob Clark has sort of said this, like, not explicitly, but sort of like the gist is that Billy keeps saying Agnes in the movie. I don't know if you caught that.
It was hard to register what he was saying, but I could tell, like, I kept pulling, like, mommy, baby, Agnes, like,
Piggy.
Piggy. I was like, okay, what?
Yeah. So it's, like, canonically, he's, like, he was jealous of his younger sister Agnes and the attention that his mother was giving Agnes. So that's where his like rage comes from. And with Norman Bates, we know that he committed matricide, which means he killed his mother, and the guilt of that caused him to kill as if he were his mother. And also there's in Psycho, there's also this sexual gratification from like voyeurism and in killing as well. There's a scene in Psycho where he's like looking through a hole in the wall at Marion Crane undressing, and it's very similar to like the voyeurism in Black Christmas, just like spying on an unsuspecting victim who's at their most vulnerable and who doesn't know that you're watching them.
Yeah, and I feel like it also made me think a lot about Scream. Like, I don't know why, but I was thinking that was like probably the first Scream movie I remember. One of the first ones I remember watching as a kid. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, like there's like this weird thing of like they're getting the calls, everyone's kind of being silly, like it's a sorority house.
Yeah.
And then also like you're kind of like watching how they interact in this like one like setting.
Right, yeah.
Like, and I also thought it was kind of funny that they chose a sorority house because inherently like it's such a feminine place to be because it is so many women. I live with all women.
Yeah.
It's very like I don't know, like I feel like when something it's so quick when something even like a bump or like a fire alarm or so everyone is up, everyone's checking on each other, like it's so like henhouse kind of behavior.
Yeah.
And I kind of noticed in this, I was like, okay, like they're all like worried for each other or like checking in, but then it kind of is like somebody goes into another room and is lost and they're like, well, we don't know where they are. I was
no,
like,
totally. What's like interesting about horror movies in general, like, is that the woman is usually the victim, right?
Yeah.
So when you have like like in Psycho, Marion Crane is the one victim that we see. In Black Christmas, there's multiple victims, and feminist film theorists have talked about this idea of like men and women, like their experience viewing a movie. So usually like how they phrase it is that men are the active lookers and women are the passive lookers. Historically in cinema, women have been like spectacle to be like looked upon. Like if you think about the Ziegfeld Follies or like any like 50s movie like where a woman is just like beautiful, like, it's like spectacle, Marilyn Monroe kind of figure, like, you know, she is being looked at by the male character, and as moviegoers we are looking at her as a spectacle as well. But in that sense, men are more likely to identify with the male like protagonist or the male main character in a movie, where women are like in terms of like horror movies and monster movies, we kind of resonate with the killer or the monster in a sense because we're othered.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah,
like, and it's kind of
sense.
it's a little bit more nuanced than that. Like literally, like people have written, you know, essays and essays about this. So like I could talk about this for a while, but it's just interesting, like the dynamics of male versus female characters as it relates to the film, and like how like Nosferatu comes to mind. Like when we think about that, we think about like Nosferatu's kind of like symbolic of a woman, in a sense, like of woman's sexual repression. And in Psycho, like obviously Norman takes on this role of a woman in order to kill. Like there's a lot of these situations in
mood
lighting in
perfect timing.
Yeah, in horror films in particular, and a lot of there's like two feminist film theorists that I'm thinking of who they really delve into this idea of like the look and who's allowed to look.
That's fascinating. Because I do think that. I think that, like, even from a young age, I remember being like, okay, like, obviously, like, this girl or whoever's, like, the main character is somebody that, like, is being admired by, like, the men in the movie or, like, is being sought after or whatever. Like, and then they have, like, side women who are kind of just, like, there.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And they have, like, zero personality, no plot line.
Totally. And that's what they also touch on, is that the male characters historically have been allowed to move the narrative forward while women are just there to serve the male character. Yeah,
either to be the butt of a joke or like to be like an object for like sex or some kind of like plot that the man is having.
Yeah.
So, and I feel like it's funny because I love watching old movies. Like, I really do.
Yeah.
And there's definitely movies that I'm like, okay, this doesn't match that at all. But no, totally. It is strange when you come across a movie where I'm like, okay, so a man wrote this for men. And
yeah, literally.
I'm like, what are the women doing?
No,
like, what are we supposed to do in this?
Exactly. No, it is kind of disheartening. But I think, like, honestly, like, in the horror movie genre, I mean, like, specifically in Black Christmas, I'm like, Jess Bradford as the character, she moves the story forward. Yeah. Like, she's the one who takes all the calls in the house. She's the one whose boyfriend is, we think he's the killer the whole movie.
I was like, creepy. He's a weirdo.
Oh my god, he's so creepy. Like, the actor that plays him just has like a creepy face. No offense to him, but like he just like, you're like, that's the killer. Yeah. And he's like really like aggressive, and he's really mad at Jess for the idea of getting an abortion. So we think, of course, Peter's the killer. I won't spoil anything. Well, it's like, but I think
that level of control too that like he was kind of displaying. I was just like, okay, like it's making me a little bit anxious.
No, totally. Yeah, but yeah, he's set up to look like he is the killer. Another interesting thing that I was going to touch on is that like in terms of the look in cinema, men look at male figure or men watch horror movies, and you know. It's kind of like not blasé, but like it's like they look on with like pride, like, oh, I'm watching this horror movie, whereas women kind of look on in like a little bit more disgust, because it's like usually women are the subjects of violence in these movies, so we think about ourselves, of course, and we put ourselves in that position, and it is a different viewing experience.
Yeah, so you're saying like men inherently look at it like, I'm doing this thing because I'm like brave and
yeah.
And we're like taking notes on like what I'm not going to do when I find myself in the parking lot.
Locking my door. No, literally, like they never lock their doors in that movie. That's the thing. I'm like, girls. God.
There was one point too where like two guys just like show up and are like, we're helping the cops try to find the killer. And they're like, knocking on the door.
No, literally.
He has like a huge rifle. He's just like, what's up?
No, literally. And they're
the
like,
killer's upstairs. I'm like, oh my god.
And they're literally like, oh, this is the only door that locks. I'm like, ladies, no. But yeah, it is like.
Do you know where it takes place? I meant to ask you because it gave New England vibes for parts of it.
It does give New England vibes. I looked it up, and I believe it's supposed to be set in Canada.
Oh, okay.
Or it was filmed in Canada. I wasn't really sure about that.
Well, Jess is British. No, she's not. She just has like an accent.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
The character who plays Jess, the actress is Olivia Hussey, who, I don't know her exact like nationality, but she's most famous. Well, she actually passed away recently. But she was most I know. She was most famous for Romeo and Juliet, like the old Romeo and Juliet.
Yes,
she was Juliet.
Yes. Okay, yes.
Yeah. Along with Black Christmas.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not sure. But yeah, she does have like this slight accent. I like the way she talks though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's very soothing.
But it's just, I love her as like this final girl character, and the fact that she's widely considered to be like the first final girl, and she really is. She doesn't really like take any shit from the killer. She kind of like, I don't know, like, again, she answers all the calls. She doesn't leave the house when she's told to because she knows her friends are upstairs. Like
Yeah,
she
really
fights
is.
back tooth and nail. Like, and she's not, you know, this weak woman that is a virgin and a goody two shoes. Like the final girl trope has been like in film history, but she's very strong and just has agency over her body again. So.
Yeah, she's dealing with real shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
is there another final girl that you particularly like? Or maybe like what would be like the most famous final girl?
The most famous final girl is definitely Laurie from Halloween.
Okay.
Like just in terms of like keeping up with the characterization of a final girl who is this virgin. And obviously, like, that doesn't mean she's not, because she's a virgin, she's not a powerful woman, of course. Like, she obviously fights back in Halloween. But she finds him at Halloween. Yeah. But, like, it just, again, like I said earlier, it kind of does. It has this connotation now that if you're a virgin, you survive. And, like, woman must be pure to survive.
Yeah, it's like
it
being punished for, like, sinning, basically, is, like, what you get. Like, you die if you... Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well, my favorite final girl is, I guess would...
Is that a weird question? I'm curious.
No. But I'm like Jennifer from Jennifer's Body, but she's tough because she's the victim and the final girl, really. Like she's like, or she's the monster and the final girl. That's what I mean.
But I kind of love that.
No, I love that too.
Yeah.
Because, like I was just saying, women relate to the monster on like the on screen essentially.
That's so fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's like we're othered from the male characters that we're seeing. It's also interesting that in slasher movies a lot of time, like, this killing is seen as sexual in nature, and a lot of the ways in which the killers kill is seen as penetrative. Like in Black Christmas, you have that scene where he kills Barb and he has that really long, like,
was
unicorn.
It an ice pick? I was like, is this ice?
I think it was a statue, like a glass sort of statue. And of course, like, it's this sort of phallic object that he's jamming into her. So it's like, it brings up this idea of the killer killing in place of sex.
Yeah.
And of course, Billy in Black Christmas, he is a repressed individual who's like a child essentially, mentally, and he doesn't have the coping skills to cope with whatever he's going through, that his mother like abandoned him. We're not entirely sure about Billy's origins. But in Psycho too, there is that like sexual component to overcompensate, I guess, for their shortcomings.
Yeah, so it's kind of just like, I don't know, like one of those things where it's like an act of violence just to get out this like urge of like what they can't express.
No, totally.
Yeah, and I read something that was like most of the time like women are killed, it's at home by like someone they know, like.
Yeah.
But I do think there's something to be said for like the whole time I was watching Black Christmas, I was like, it's the boyfriend. I was like, it's the boyfriend, 100%.
And they definitely make you believe that.
Yeah.
Weren't you like, okay, like massive spoiler alert, but weren't you, I think we gave away enough.
Yeah. It's
sorry,
watch the movie.
But you didn't watch it.
Yeah.
That's your fault. But at the end they leave her in the house.
That was the craziest part.
Oh my,
that was
left
so
her
crazy.
in the house.
And
She's
it's like, okay,
passed
so,
out.
like, and the people are still in the attic too. They don't search for the bodies.
Yeah.
So it's like she's chilling with like 2 dead bodies and the killer, potentially.
Yeah. And I'm like, it's funny because I guess it's like suspension of disbelief, but it's like, none of you were hearing him in the attic?
No. Well, and he's like screaming on the phone. At one point, you can kind of hear him like, I don't know if they had like audio from one of the killings like in the call. You know what I'm talking about? Because he just made noises the whole time.
Yeah, he's like kind of like garbling.
Yeah.
He's also like, he switches. There's like a mother voice that he uses in the calls.
Okay, yes, I noticed that.
And then him again. So again, it's like similar to Norman Bates adopting this persona of his mother. They're very similar characters in terms of the killer, but that's just like, I'm like, you guys didn't hear that?
Yeah, I was thinking actually, have you seen Gremlins? Yeah, that was a great Christmas movie that I think...
if my dad's watching, he'll be like, yes, someone else thinks it's a Christmas movie.
I think Gremlins is a Christmas movie.
Okay, no, I've been convinced.
Also, because it's like, but it gave me the similar vibe of just like, ooh, this is fun because it's Christmas, but make it spooky.
I love Gremlin. I was a Gremlin for Halloween. I was like green, like woman Gremlin.
Oh, wait, I think I saw that. That was a very inventive costume.
Thank you so much. I love Gremlins. I think they're so cute. I'm like, if I had one, I'd feed it after midnight.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm like
my kitty.
No, literally. I'm like, let me check my notes to see if I'm missing anything that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, well, just like something that I guess I noticed was like the house mother. So I actually went to it like you or I for like 1 year, and they have sororities, and I remember being like, this is fucking weird. Like, I'm so sorry if you're a sorority girl, love you.
No shade.
No shade, no hate. I remember being like, I'm uncomfortable with like a lot of this. Like, it was just a weird vibe. My mother, however, went to Fitchburg State and was in a sorority like in the 80s, and like it definitely sounded like a very interesting experience, like community, sisterhood, like all the things. I think Massachusetts is probably a very different scene than like further south.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, it's something that I noticed. I was just like, it's so strange, like all the personalities that you get, but also like there's supposed to be this like matriarch like figure of each like, or like I think they have like a house mother even for fraternities, I think, but I don't know for sure. And
I have like have no
I'm like I felt like an alien.
Sorority, fraternity, like.
But it's very interesting because this woman that they show on Black Christmas is like kind of like low-key a drunk.
She's a drunk.
And gives like zero shits about like where the girls are. She kind of just like hangs around and like is silly.
Yep, she doesn't really care. It seems like, and she's the second one killed. So
yeah, it was just funny because I was like, okay, if I was house mother to this house of women during this time, I'd be freaking out. No, like, let's do a head count. Like maybe I'll hang out.
Check check the attic.
Yeah.
Hey, let's check the attic. Crazy thought. I think like. Well, what's interesting about this movie is this came out before Ted Bundy did did the murders that, like, how do I phrase this?
Ted Bundy's insane trajectory of killings.
Literally like the killings at the Florida sorority house. So it was like I think those murders took place in 78. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But it's interesting that this movie came out prior to that, because I actually thought when watching it originally, I was like, oh, this must sort of be a sort of like jab at Ted Bundy. Like, also, like, I like when people kind of diss on Ted Bundy and call him like, you know, like make him seem like less of a threatening presence and more of just like a loser, essentially. Like, and that's like what the character of Billy is giving. Like, it's giving like loser, frankly.
Yeah, it's like, okay.
But there is this like, it's shocking to see like, and to hear about, you know, Ted Bundy's murders and this group of girls who were supposed to be safe, like in this protected house, like on campus, that's full of like you know, this place of like girlhood and friendship and like love and care. Yeah, like this home, which is like where you're supposed to be at your safest, and especially around all your friends, is just like violated. And in this movie, that like fear is really well conveyed. It's like, because they have no idea that someone is living under their roof, watching their every move. And that's what is probably the creep. There's no like really jump scare in this movie. It's just really like that deep fear within you of like, someone's watching me and I don't know, which is probably, I think, the scariest trope in a horror movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, it's one of those things where like I stop watching it and then I walk around my apartment for the rest of the night, like, okay, so I'm just gonna like check my 6 and like make sure I can see like there's a light on the kitchen and like where's my cat, my roommate's asleep, check my roommate's location. Every like noise I hear, I'm like, what was that?
Literally. My roommate's like, I can hear you like locking and unlocking the door to make sure it's locked like 4 times. I'm like,
you know, shut up, Lauren. She's checking the back door every night. And I'm like, thank you. But there was, like, literally a guy in West Somerville, like, breaking into people's houses.
Of course, yeah, like, peeping Tom. Like, that. And that is so, like, it makes your skin crawl because you're like...
It's a real thing. Like,
it's a real thing. It happens.
That's what I was... Like, I think one of the things I thought about was that murder that recently happened to those kids. I think it was in Ohio. It was, like, they were...
Oh, in Idaho.
Thank you.
Yes. No, exactly. It's, like... again, you're supposed to be safe in your house, and when someone violates that your privacy and your space, it's like that is the ultimate like it's just like there's no other way to put it but like just disgusting. And I think that's why this movie has been so successful and just it's continued to be talked about, though I will say it's not like I mean, did you hear of it before I mentioned it?
I had heard of it because I know my mom is a horror movie person, and she had one of the remakes on when I was a kid. Like, she would just, like, have horror movies on a lot. And I remember, like, one of the remakes was on, and I was like, what is this? And she was like, actually, this movie came out when I was a kid. This is, like, the new one. Like, and I think that's the only reason why.
Right. I just think that she is, like, in the, like, when we think about a final girl, Jess Bradford is not brought up often enough for my liking, just because I think she's such a strong final girl character, even though, again, she doesn't fit into this, like, trope necessarily. And when Carol J. Clover, like, characterized final girl as this virginal goody two shoes, like, she wasn't saying it in, like, a yes way. It was more of, like, not, like, even a critique, but just sort of, like, a, makes you think, like, why is it that way? Why is it always, like, women that are getting killed in horror movies? And, like, what does it say? Again, I'm beating a dead horse, but, like, that the final woman that survives is this virginity. Like, her virginity saved her.
She's, like, a pure, like...
Yes, exactly.
Example of a good girl.
But that's not the case in Black Christmas, because Jess Bradford is very openly getting an abortion.
Yeah, that was so interesting to me, and I didn't think of it within the time frame of Roe versus Wade until you said that. But
I'm like, let me double check. I'm like, when did Roe v. Wade?
No, because I'm pretty sure, like, when she was talking about that, I was like, oh, wow, that's even something that, like, even today is kind of, like, a very controversial topic. Like,
yeah.
It's just funny how those kind of themes, like, kind of...
1973. So it was a year prior to this movie coming out.
Yeah.
But I was reading about how Black Christmas could come out today and it would still be topical.
Yeah.
Like, it's not one of those movies where you think, wow, this is really outdated.
Yeah.
Like, obviously there are elements of it, like, I'm sure there's some language where you're like, oh, I wouldn't say that today. But as, like, like, it is honestly a very progressive movie in a sense.
Yeah, I noticed that. Even, like, that character Barb would say stuff, and I was like, oh my god, damn, she has a mouth. Like,
no,
I was like, okay.
Literally, yeah. There's just a cast of characters in that movie. And
it is cute, though, like, the way that, like, some of the, like, when the softer scenes happen where they're just being girls, I was like, this is kind of like a... Like, I don't know. The whole time I just kept thinking, I'm just like, okay, what would I be doing in my apartment if this was happening? And it wouldn't be with this. Like, I just kept disagreeing with a lot of the moves they make, like, strategically when it comes to, like, staying safe.
Yeah, no, totally.
But I don't think they really considered it, like, a, like, threat. Like, or, like, they just weren't really understanding, like, the scope.
Well, I think they thought, of course they thought, oh, Claire's just missing. Claire went off somewhere. And then the calls are sort of this, like... They're kind of starting to link, like, okay, like, Claire's missing, there are these calls, but it still doesn't, like, quite, like, I don't know, like, come together until towards the end. But it's, like, because these calls just seem sort of random. They say, oh, the moaner, that's what they call him. Like, the moaner's calling.
Wait, yeah, I was thinking, like, what is the modern day moaner? And I'm like, just someone in your DMs where you're like, I'm terrified. Like, what the fuck? Like,
no, literally, your reply guy is the moaner.
I can't think.
Well, I guess if your reply guy got, like...
voice memos, just like scaring the shit out of you. I was like trying to think of like what would be modern day, like, this is harassment to like a group of women.
Yeah, that's actually a good like exercise.
How would they do it? Because it's not like people have landlines anymore,
right? I guess if you were to
online, they would have to be harassing these people online, or like just like spamming if they had like calls. A social media page, like if like that house.
Yeah, how would you remake Black Christmas in a modern lens?
I don't know. I was just...
That would actually be sort of pivotal. Like, what would because the calls are so...
important.
Yeah, important to this film. It's the start of the film, and it kind of just carries on throughout the entire film. And the calls are what eventually leads to them realizing that this guy is inside the house.
Yes. Okay, wait, I wanted to ask you, so this was the first time that they had that concept of like, okay, the call's coming from inside the house.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Because I remember that movie When a Stranger Calls. This is like a...
Oh, yes.
Because that was... I also thought the call was coming inside at the house for that.
Yes. Wait, let me like double check.
The remake of that movie like lives rent free in my head because
Oh my God,
I was
I've never
home
seen
alone after like a school, like something after school. I remember watching it being like, I'm so scared like to just like be in my house. I was like, there's someone in here, like.
Yeah, that's why it's so scary, because it's so real.
And I think especially if you're a woman and you live in a city or alone or like even with roommates, like it's kind of those things where it's just like, okay, so I'm always going to make sure that there's no one in my home.
Yeah, so When a Stranger Calls is 1979, so this Black Christmas is the first. The call's coming from inside the house.
Yeah, and then it was Scream. Well,
yeah.
There's probably a bunch of in between,
but Scream is probably the most
that's
well known.
That's what I remembered it from, because I was watching it like, okay, this is kind of like Scream, but if it was a House of Women,
yeah,
so it's like Scream meets, I don't know, Psycho meets,
right. It's a lot of things, just because I mean, obviously Psycho came out prior to Black Christmas, but I think that Black Christmas has had a huge impact on horror movies, like in general. And it doesn't really get, like, again, you don't hear people talking about it a ton, but it has forever changed, like, certain horror movie tropes, like The Call's Coming from Inside the House, certain slasher films.
The whole Final Girl.
Yeah, Final Girl. And again, it was just super progressive for its time, and especially in terms of this just proclaiming that she's getting an abortion. And it's not just like an offhanded comment she makes. It's like, this is a big plot point. This is like big contention with her boyfriend, who's basically like kind of forcing her to have the baby and saying like, we can just be together. And she's very adamantly, no, like, I am not having this baby. I wasn't even gonna tell you that I was pregnant. And because of the killer actually, after her and Peter have this argument, the killer says something like, don't kill the baby, on the phone.
Yes, I do. And then that's why I thought it was him. I was like, and it's him.
But the reason that the killer knows this is because he's above them in the attic, so he's hearing all the conversations. But of course, yeah, the movie like lends you to believe that it's Peter, because oh my God, Peter's anti just getting this abortion.
He messes up that piano right after too. I was like, okay.
So really, when you think about it, it villainizes like this man who is, I mean, Peter is villainized, and I think rightfully so. He's honestly a shit boyfriend, and like a horrible guy. Like, what was he trying to get into, like the music academy? And he does so bad at his piano recital. He smashes the piano, and it's just like the drama is crazy.
That was a lot. I was like, what is going on right now? It wasn't like yeah, he didn't have a lot of like winning qualities, I guess.
No,
but yeah, I don't know. When I was watching it, I was just like, oh, I feel like it's cool that this girl's just gonna do what she wants.
Exactly.
And I don't think that was like necessarily the norm at that time.
Even when the cops like, get out of the house, don't ask any questions, just get out. She doesn't listen to him.
Yeah.
She's like, let me grab the fire poker and go upstairs.
Like, check on my friends. Yeah. Which, like, good on her. I would definitely always check on my friends. But
yeah.
I don't know. I guess I'm curious, like, something I thought about, too, was, like, a lot of the men in the movie, I was like, they kind of just, like, get angry and, like, kind of have these, like, because, like, you see the killer, like, flip out and, like, break a bunch of stuff.
Oh my God, in the attic, yeah.
And then you see her boyfriend, like, break this piano and, like, even, like, there's a guy who randomly shoots a cop in the ass at one point.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And
there's a
like,
lot of
fighting.
Violence, yeah.
It's just, like, a lot of, like, men freaking out and then, like, women trying to, like, figure out what's going on.
No, totally. Yeah, the only, like, kind of, the only good man in that movie is, I mean, obviously, like, the detective's fine, but then the Chris, Claire's boyfriend he's in that big fur coat. I posted on my story. I was like, I need to wear fur coats again. Because I was rewatching it, and I was like, he looks damn good.
Yeah, that is a great fur coat.
But,
he just bursts in and, like, freaks out.
Literally. But, yeah, there is a lot of male aggression in that. But Jess, as a character, is so level-headed. Like, she never once, like, flips out. And obviously, like, she says, like, Barb, when she's told to leave the house, and she doesn't leave the house because she's like, I'm not leaving without Barb, and I'm totally blanking on the last friend's name, but and she just goes upstairs and kind of goes against the cops' wishes. But she's like a very strong female character in this horror movie, not like a weak damsel in distress.
Yeah, and I love that.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of other girls that I've seen in scary movies that give that same energy of, like, strong or, like, level-headed or... I don't know why I'm blanking, because I've seen a lot.
Yeah, I'm, like, kind of blanking, too.
I'm, like,
I don't know, she's just, like, a really good example of this strong final girl.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
That was a very interesting watch, and I feel like getting to do it in the Christmas season... I'm glad that I, like, hadn't seen it. Because I was like, oh, I feel like I'm getting in the spirit. It was cute.
Yeah, and it, like, the soundtrack is very, like, oh.
Yeah, I'm listening to Christmas carols. I'm like, okay, I guess we are being aggressive.
And then they have that caroling scene while Barb is getting killed.
That was so crazy.
And it goes back and forth from these kids, like, caroling outside to this, you know, it's the happiest time of the year. It's the most joyous time of the year. And this, you know, hell is happening inside this house. No one knows it's happening.
That's actually something that I thought was cool, is because I feel like Christmas is so marketed. It's like, you have to be happy. Like, this is forced merriment. Like, this is the happiest time of the year. Like, all the things. And I thought it was a funny idea. I'm curious, like, how that idea came to be, because I feel like Christmas has been historically marketed so...
Right.
But I know, like, I was looking into, like, Krampus or whatever it is. I know we talked about this, but I was looking into Krampus. I don't know why. And it was because it's, like, the evil version of Santa.
Yeah. Which is based on, like, I mean, I was listening to a podcast, and, like, throughout history, people have created these sort of myths about, like, sort of creepy witches and stuff and Krampus is based on, like, a myth as well, in order to get kids to behave around Christmas, to say, like, hey, if you don't do this, Krampus is gonna come. Like, it's like, oh my god, which is scarier than being like, oh, you're gonna get coal. Yeah. So there have been myths and legends that have kind of made Christmas spooky in the past, so I'm sure that had influence on this movie.
Yeah, well, it's just interesting. Like, I thought it was, I don't know, inventive, because I feel like it's usually you're just seeing, like, the highlight reel, and I was like, no, Christmas can be kind of sketch. That's why I liked Gremlins, too, is I was like, this girl's like, I actually fucking hate Christmas. Like, my dad died, and, like, that was such a crazy scene of that movie when she explains, like, her relationship to the holiday and, like, how it's, like, when she lost her dad.
Right.
And then, like, these tiny little adorable furry creatures just, like,
terrorizing the town. I got it. No, I need to watch Gremlins again.
Yeah, no, that's going to be on my list for this season for sure.
Did you feel, like, disappointed at the end of Black Christmas because you're like, I don't know who the killer is? Or do you not mind when a horror movie does that?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know, because part of me is always like, I want the justice, because, like, you kind of want it.
Yeah, no, totally.
But then another part of me is like, I mean, like, in a real-life situation, like, things like this do have, like, the wrong person gets accused of a crime, and, like...
Totally. Yeah, because the cops just think, oh, it was Peter.
Yeah, well, that's easiest for everyone, right? We're like, pack it up, let's go home, like, now we can be done.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just interesting that I don't think that the director, Bob Clark, or, I mean, I don't know this for a fact, but I don't think they had any intention of creating a sequel. I mean, they've never made a sequel. Like,
that's what I was like, okay, so they're making another one?
Yeah, I think...
Halloween, it was so obvious that they were making another one.
Yeah. But this, I'm like, they just leave it so open-ended that you can, and I'm sure, actually, I've looked at theories online. I don't really know who people think is really Billy, but, people have their theories on Reddit.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, one of the movies that I watched actually that ends on a cliffhanger like that is, you know, the movie The Strangers?
Oh, yeah.
I liked how that ending, they're never caught, and like you never really know what's going on. Yeah. But that movie scared me so badly.
I think it makes it scarier almost, because you're like, I don't know, and your brain wants to know. Yeah. Your brain wants a conclusion tied up in a bow, and when you don't get it, you're like, something's not sitting right with me here.
And then I go to bed at night like, okay, so they could still be out there, even though it's just like a movie. I'm like, okay, so.
And it's like, we never know who Billy is. Jess never knows who Billy is. No one in that movie knows who Billy is, because we never see Billy. I mean, we see his eye in that one scene where she's like looking through the where she finds Barb and her other friend killed in Barb's room, and then she kind of pushes him against the door because she sees his eye through the door crack, and that's the only, and his hands, that's all we see of him.
So it's like left your own imagination a little bit.
Exactly.
Which I think is the scariest, like when you can't see the killer.
No, yeah. I don't like when like movies show a killer like so explicitly. I'm like, because if it's not, like, it kind of makes it less scary.
Yeah.
In a weird way.
Your own imagination is so much scarier than anything that, like, you can see.
Totally.
Yeah, and I also, I don't know, I guess I'm curious if your opinion on the movie when it comes to things like how they kind of like shape like you said, there's not like jump scares, but like the murder scenes or like the scenes where people are being killed. Like I know you said that it has like a weird like inherently like sexual nature of like, okay, like these women are being brutally, but I think I've heard in other episodes of your podcast where you talk about like the way women are treated in horror movie, like it was so progressive, but it's also still at the same time.
Totally. Like the theme of like, you know, Jess as a character is progressive, but also like the brutal killing of women in this really deformed way is not progressive. I mean, like, but that's the thing with like slasher films in general. It's women are the ones that suffer at the hands of the killers the most brutally. They're the ones, and these killings aren't depicted in like they are brutal. Like they're, you know, strangulation and stabbing. So it's not easy to watch at all. I don't really think it's like inherently like a horror movie is inherently like anti-feminist or whatever, but I do think that because I think that you can either sort of critique like the killings can be like a critique on the treatment of women almost, like, but it also depends because I'm like Bob Clark is a male director, like he's not coming at this like, oh, I'm a woman and I'm watching this. Like he's the male gaze. Like, and that's what it is. You can tell when a horror movie is made in a male gaze. And I don't really know who the writer was on this movie. I haven't looked into that. But I'm sure there was a whole team of people, of course, as a movie does.
Who is your favorite director for like female like director for horror movies?
I love the reason I love Jennifer's Body is Karen Kusama and Diablo Cody. That's a female director-writer team. Cool. And you can tell. Like, you can totally tell. Because there is this... First of all, usually a woman is never the killer in a horror movie. Yeah. It's just not how it is, because I talked about...
That is interesting. Yeah. I did,
So, to make a woman the killer is, like, inherently feminist. I think that, like... Because I did an episode on Jennifer's Body, and like... Men get mad at me in my comments all the time because they say like, oh, like, so now you're promoting women killing men. I'm like, it's a movie, babe.
Yeah,
like, it's
also,
a movie.
Men have been killing women for literally hundreds of years.
Exactly. Like, and then the tables turn and they're like, wait, you guys, I don't like this. Like, I really don't like this. And that's what makes, like, that's such a progressive movie, because, again, it's critiquing the history of horror movies, which has been women being slain by men, essentially. Well, not essentially, that's just the truth. But yeah.
Is The Substance a female director?
Yes.
Okay, I could tell that also. There's like one scene where she's like in the mirror and like I was like, okay, I feel like every girl kind of relates to this, because she's just like getting frustrated. She's supposed to go out to a date or something. Yeah, she's getting like mad, and I'm like, there are so many times where I'm just like, oh my god, I do not have time for this.
Yeah, no, totally. And I'm not saying that like I think that male directors can make work that lends itself more like has more of like a feminist lens, but or you can be looked at through a feminist lens. I mean, I look at movies that are directed by men, and I'm still looking at it through like a feminist lens. Yeah, but some are better than others.
Yeah, and I think there's something to be said where it's like I can tell that this content was like made for women by women, because I relate so much heavier to like the women in the story or like what they're doing.
Yeah, no, totally. And I think like, I mean, Nosferatu, I think that's a really good depiction of Ellen expressing her repressed sexuality, and that movie was directed by a man. Obviously the story of Nosferatu is, you know, has been with us for a while, but that is who's the guy who did The Lighthouse?
Oh wait, I have
that God. Director. What is his name?
I don't know, but I know that
it's
movie.
Him. But and of course Frankenstein is directed. The new Frankenstein directed by Guillermo del Toro, a man. So it's not just it's not like black and white. Like, oh, a man can't make a movie that has a sort of feminist angle, but it is interesting that like. I mean, like, you can tell sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially with, like, older movies. I mean, when it comes to older movies, hey, most of them were directed by men.
Yeah. But I still have, like, ones that I'm like, and I'd watch this every day. Like, I actually really liked, what is it? Rear Window? Or no, it's Jimmy Stewart, and he's looking through a window, and...
Vertigo?
Yes.
Yes. I love Vertigo.
I actually really liked that.
Yeah. I mean, like, they're, like... and I love movies too that sometimes I'm like, not the best representation of women. Just like not, it doesn't. It's just kind of like I always say like
stomach it. To get to the good part.
People in my comments will always say like on YouTube they'll be like, it's not that serious or it's not serious. I'm like, well, you could like, yeah, sure, like you could live life and think like, oh, it's not that serious, but it's also just fun and interesting to dive into it. Like to say, okay, like what was the intention of writing this character? What does this character represent? Like, is this a good representation? It doesn't have to be. I'm not saying like cancel all movies that aren't feminists, like, you know.
No, but it is something where it's like, hey, like these like medias do shape our society, whether you wanna like admit that or not.
Mm-hmm. And they're a reflection of the times in which they're created, and I talk about that literally all the time. I mean, I just did an episode on Rocky Horror, and
I saw that.
and it's like that was like not the peak of purity culture, but like purity culture, like there was like it was brewing. It was definitely brewing. And I just think it's interesting that like that movie, you know, it has Nixon's resignation speech. I think it's sort of this jab at this conservatism. And Janet Wise as a character, she's very like, I don't know, she's sexually free. Like she's allowed that sexual freedom, which is a big deal for the time, which is also the Wait, they came out the same year. Black Christmas and Rocky Horror came out the same year.
There's a lot going on. Everybody was
there was a lot going on. I just made that connection. I was like, wow. But yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think it's I mean, one of the reasons I like your content is just because like, yeah, I do want to. It is like interesting to think like, okay, like it does represent the time we're living in, and B, like these characters and like this plot is such like a not just a representation but also shapes how we view things. Yeah. And I forget who I was talking to, but I think it was one of my younger cousins, and we were watching some old movie. I'm trying to think of what it was, and she was like, is this all that this character is gonna do? And it's like, okay, because these stories are like, you're watching it like as young women, and you're kind of like, okay, so like we're here to have sex with and be killed, like that's it.
Yeah, and no, then, like, literally. Yeah, it's hard not to kind of see yourself in a movie, or position yourself within a movie, because that's just the nature of a movie. Again, we're like this voyeur, like watching. So yeah,
it was really interesting. But this was a good watch, so I appreciate the rec.
Of course.
I felt festive. I definitely felt scared. Out. Yeah. I did like a whole walkthrough of my apartment before I left, and then I was like, okay.
Okay, we're all taking videos. Like, I do that. I do that all the time.
Yeah, but thank you so much for coming on again.
Of course.
Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
We love having you.
Yay! Love it here.
Do you have anything you want to like plug or promote before like we?
I will definitely be doing coming out before Christmas. I'm gonna be filming like a episode of Black Christmas.
Cool.
X Psycho, a little bit more in depth. So look out for that.
Cool. So like like dissecting both films together.
Yeah. More focused on Black Christmas, but there are elements of Psycho that I think are interesting. I mean, like Alfred Hitchcock wasn't the best guy.
Yeah. Oh no.
I'm not gonna spoil it all now, but like, you know, he didn't treat his actors the best.
Yeah, no, I can.
And that does you can't separate the art from the artist. I'm sorry, like
it's really
it taints
hard.
The Wizard of Oz for me, knowing how Judy Garland was totally mistreated. Like, and it's like now that would never fly.
Oh
like if we heard that like the main actress was making pennies compared to the dog in a movie, there would be riots in the street. And
also they had her like on uppers to stay awake and then putting her like to sleep.
They put her through a nightmare. Yeah, literally. But
and you usually make like a themed cocktail for each episode, right? Okay, yeah, because I will need one of those recipes from you. Like...
And the thing is though, I'm a really bad bartender.
Okay, well that's fine. Honestly, I never drink anyway, so I'm like, oh, I'll have whatever.
Honestly, I don't drink that much, so like this is the tea that I'll share here is I really don't drink the drinks.
Oh my god, I just make them for the fun of it?
Well, I drink like a little bit, but I'm a massive lightweight, so I'm like, I can't drink it all.
Are you gonna make one for Black Christmas? It's like dark and
I'll make one. Like, if someone else is at the studio with me, I'll give it to them.
Okay, cute. Yeah. Oh my god, that person's like, let's go. Love it.
Let's go, free drinks. But yeah, so be on the lookout for a Black Christmas episode of Silver Screen Queen.
Okay, cute. Well, thank you so much, Parker.
Thank you.
All right, let's hit it.
Woo!